I'm out in the food forest today doing a little winter harvesting slash light chop and drop. Got quite a bit of work to do, so I thought I'd bring you along and show you how I do things. And yes, it's a little bit chilly today. It's probably about 50 right now. It was close to freezing last night, maybe the night before. Please help the channel grow by watching the video all the way to the end, subscribing, commenting, sharing, giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you don't like it. I appreciate it all. Thanks a lot. I'm starting out here in this section that I seed bombed in September. I seed bombed it with mostly annuals to start an annual garden. It's doing pretty good. I'm not going to be harvesting the leafy greens. We just do that as needed. But there are a couple things in here I can harvest and do a little chop and drop in the back of this section. I'm going to be harvesting some of this rat-tailed radish today. I've been eating off of this for a couple months now, and well, it just really produces more than we can even use. So I'm going to harvest a big bucket of this and try to pickle some of it. You can also see right back here starting to flower again, so we're going to have more and more of this probably through half of the summer. I'll leave a lot of these older pods on here, or maybe even break them off and just throw them around. This will help the plant self-seed, so we'll have this perpetually. We also have some of the rat-tailed radish that is drying out. I'll harvest that for seeds. This Colocasia is dying back quite a bit, so let's do a little chop and drop here. This leaf is still getting some sun, so I'm going to leave it. And of course, I'll leave this brand new leaf. And this machete is great for this kind of thing. It's good for bananas too. This Noni fruit tree is looking pretty sad. I think it's just been too cold for it. I've got some chop and drop from a couple days ago over here. I'm going to move it closer to the tree. Maybe that'll give it a little protection. Probably won't do much. The ruby hibiscus is really dying back, so it's time to do a little chop and drop on that, as well as harvest some of the calyxes for seeds. Hibiscus is one of my pioneer plants, along with pigeon pea. Yes, hibiscus is a pioneer plant for me. I seed bomb just throwing the seeds around, and it grows really fast. Pigeon pea, hibiscus, and Mexican sunflower are my three main pioneer plants. So I'll show you how I chop and drop and harvest the seeds on this. With this plant, ruby hibiscus, aka Hibiscus radiatus, it's extremely important to wear gloves. It has little hairs that are like fiberglass, and you'll get slivers all over the place. To harvest these calyxes, I do it really fast and easy. Got a bucket here. And for the first one, I'll just take the whole stem so that I know what's in here, because sometimes you can't tell the calyxes apart. Then you simply go like this. Fast and easy. I'll continue doing this until I get a couple hundred calyxes. Then I won't need any more after that. Now that I've harvested the calyxes that I need, it's a pretty simple chop and drop. Literally chop and drop. Doesn't have to be fancy. And there's the blackberry jam fruit tree with a little cardboard that Hurricane Ian probably blew over here. I did a little bit more chop and drop off camera. So I'm going to do the same thing for this cherry of the Rio Grande back in here, but I'm not going to do it quite yet. It's being covered by this pigeon pea. I want to wait for these pigeon pea pods to dry out more. There are some dry ones, so I'll harvest them. But I want them all to be dry. I'll harvest these for throwing around the food forest. Once this pigeon pea bush is pretty much fully harvested, I'll go ahead and chop it. Another thing that got bent over all over in the food forest is the cassava. Here we got some new growth coming up, but you can see these canes here. I guess they're canes. They're all bent up. So I'm going to make some propagation material out of this. So I'll cut this up so there's 4, 5, 6 nodes on each piece. Plant them. I'm not sure where they're going yet. And I'll do the same thing for the 4 or 5 other cassava plants that are in the same situation. Back over here by the seed bombed annual garden, got a Cassia tree. It makes really nice looking yellow flowers, adds nitrogen to the soil. I'm going to harvest these seed pods for use later. They crumble pretty easily. Have to be careful. I'm going to try a different method. So for this Cassia, I'm just going to go like this. Just going to cut it off and take the whole thing. And then maybe do a little pruning here. Most of these branches are dead. We'll see how that does. Over here behind the annual garden that I seed bombed, got some more hibiscus. I seed bombed that in here to protect some mint that was growing. Mint seems to be doing all right. But I'm going to chop and drop this too. So that's cleared up pretty well. Just by chopping and dropping that hibiscus, it's laying down more seeds, helping us self-seed. And I just noticed over here, looks like an eggplant blooming. That might become perennial in this spot. We'll have to wait and see. All right, time to move on to a new section. So as I'm walking, I'm looking for things to harvest. A little bit of foraging. Got these Asian winged beans. I don't think they're going to be very tasty. Kind of rubbery after being froze. But I'll let them dry out and harvest the seeds later. Here's a Luffa Gourd that is not quite ready to be harvested. Maybe in a few weeks. I'll do some chop and drop here by this Florida King peach that, despite losing all of its leaves, has bloomed twice. And it actually looks like it might be making a peach. I'll get a close-up of that. I'm just going to chop this Mexican sunflower right here. And there's a fire anthill right there. I'll save these pieces for propagation. And there's something else interesting over here. I'll get a close up. So I don't know, you tell me. Is this tree trying to make a peach? I'm sure it won't come to fruit, but still, good effort. Right over here is the other interesting thing that I saw. Well, I better get away from that fire ant hill. So this is Shiso spinach. I'll put the actual name here. It's done for the season and made all these nice seed pods. I'm gonna harvest some of these. Actually, these ones I'll just throw around a little bit. It's a beautiful plant. I want more. I'll get a little bit more than that. Okay, this is going to be my propagation material. That's pretty much it for this section. I'm going to move over there, and there are two things in particular that I want to harvest for the kitchen. And over here, under the big oak tree, we have some turmeric, however you pronounce it. And then right over there, some ginger. So I'm going to dig these up, take a look, see what we got. Start with the turmeric. It didn't come right up. It's looking promising. All right, looks like I'm going to need both hands for this. There's a tender root. I wonder what that's too. Geez, this is the biggest one I've seen yet. Couple little pieces. I'll leave these little guys here. I'll leave that here too. Let's get this big chunk. All right, look at that. Plus more. Okay. I'll take these to the kitchen to use. This one I'm going to replant. These other little guys I'll leave right here. Let's make sure they're covered up well. Okay, let's see what we have here. The ginger. That was barely even attached. Might even find some sweet potatoes in here. Get rid of this Kogan grass while we're at it. Here we go. This is a big one. Wow. Look at that. It's a pretty good piece of ginger. About half of that. Take this for the kitchen. I'll replant this right here. And I'll propagate this piece somewhere else. Okay, we're right under the oak tree. I want some ginger. Plant it over here. Take the one with the root, stick it right down in there. And hey, why not? Let's put that turmeric right here. There we go. I'm in another section of the garden. There's a patch of African potato mint right here I'm going to harvest. Over here there's more rat-tailed radish. This plant is blooming pretty well. We'll be having these radishes for months. But for now, let's get some potatoes out of here. So this whole section right here is a nice patch of African potato mint. This is going to be 100% propagation material. We've got more than we can eat right now already. So the potatoes that I find in here, I'll plant around in the food forest and other places. And also I'll put some in a pot in a greenhouse so that they come up a little bit early next summer. So far this isn't a great harvest. They tend to grow in little clusters. The bigger ones will get twice the size, at least twice the size of this. We cook them just like we do potatoes. Found that when you boil them, works a little bit better, although they taste a little bit more watered down compared to a regular potato. And we found if you bake them, it takes longer, like almost twice as long to bake them as a regular potato. The taste is similar to a regular potato. Seems to be maybe a little sweeter. Of course, that could depend on the recipe also. Here's a nice little cluster. Oops, I lost it. And of course, I'm leaving some of the smaller ones here so we have another patch next year here. Probably wouldn't be able to avoid it, to be honest. Plant once, grow forever. That's what I'm talking about. Same as that ginger and turmeric. Look at that. Nice mycelium. Geez. This little patch goes on and on. I think you can sell these plants for like $5 each. Little tiny planter. I literally started with just a couple cuttings and turned that into harvesting thousands of potatoes and spreading this all over my food forest. It's one of the easiest summer crops you can grow. In the summertime, when it's in the rainy season, you can literally just take a cutting, put it in the ground, and it's going to grow. Here's a nice cluster, some bigger ones. That's probably where it started. See, there's bigger ones. Might get, the biggest one I've seen is just a little bit bigger than this. And so when I'm preparing these in the kitchen, I scrub them down with a brush really well, get all the dirt off. And when you're doing that, you'll notice that the skin comes right off. It's a very thin skin. This is one of my favorite things to do, this type of harvesting. I don't know what it is. It's just enjoyable, getting my hands in the dirt. Harvesting these guys, harvesting sweet potatoes, same thing. I want to get enough to start a few pots full of these guys and get a good head start next year. I might try selling these. Yeah, there's a big cluster. Get enough to start quite a few pots in a greenhouse. They'll come up in May, June time frame, a little earlier in the greenhouse than they would if they were out here. And I can start making cuttings right away, give them away and sell them, use them for barter. Way over here, look at all these potatoes. Look at these potatoes. They're all over the place. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Jeez, this little potato patch was bigger than I thought. All right, I think I reached the end of it. I'll just leave those to come up next year. Beautiful. That's how I like it. All right, African potato mint. To start those potatoes in a pot is pretty easy. Just put a bunch in a pot like that, put some soil over it, keep them dry. Then when the temperature starts warming up a little bit, put them in a warm place like a greenhouse or something, and they'll sprout earlier than the ones outside. Then you can start making cuttings, propagating to get a head start. So my food forest is really only about 3 years old. So there are quite a few things that have not bloomed yet or are just now blooming, like this Loquat. We might get some fruit out of this year. Won't be a huge harvest. I've been procrastinating with this guy. So it bent over a little bit after Hurricane Ian. Now it has all these suckers. I'm going to take most of these off and propagate them. So I'm going to keep a couple of these. I'm not sure which ones yet. I think maybe this one. That way, that way, that way. Just for some precision cuts. I'll take all of these ones down here. Just leave this one. So I'll leave this one down here and this one. Would have been better if there would have been some coming on the other side, but that wasn't an option. I'm going to leave these down here for now. 16 potential new loquat trees, most likely for barter. Just going to repurpose this pot here, and I'm not going to do anything special because loquats seem to root fairly easy. I'm just going to take these bad boys, stick them in. I've had no problem getting loquats to root this way. It's not going to work for every plant, obviously, but it works for loquats. This might be a little tight, but not every one of these is going to take root. Some of them will. It's literally. So here in Florida, Kogan grass is a big problem, probably down south in general. The only way to get rid of it is just to pull it. Sometimes you just give up and use it as chop and drop. My Monstera Deliciosa is getting inundated with this Kogan grass, so I'm going to pull it. That stuff just grows like crazy. Sometimes you'll get a root underground that's 3 or 4 feet long. It's insane. Just got to pull this stuff. All over the place. That's good enough for now. A little less competition. And I accidentally pulled up some Cuban oregano, so there's some more propagation material. So here's some more propagation material. This Katuk was bent over from Hurricane Ian. It's growing well back there, but the original shoots are just falling all over the place. So I'm going to get all of this as propagation material. And Katuk is pretty easy, at least in the summertime. In the rainy season, it's one of those plants where you literally just stick it in the ground and it grows. This is where this machete comes in handy. So I can literally start a new food forest with that. Might as well do a little bit of guerrilla gardening with this Katuk that I just chopped. Got this whole area at the edge of my property that was kind of cleared out by Hurricane Ian. There's an opportunity to plant some things in here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but if I can just put some plants down really quick and easy, and they grow, that'll be great. So we've got this Katuk that I just chopped up, and I want to make smaller pieces. So to do that, the way that I do it, is just go like this. Saves a little time. Okay, these are the cuttings that I just chopped up. I'm literally going to walk for about 40 feet, and every few feet just plunk one of these cuttings into the ground. In the rainy season, it's no problem. It's January, so not every one of them is going to grow, but quick and easy, not 100% guaranteed. Just stick it in the ground. Stick it in the ground. Stick it in the ground. And just repeat that all the way down. So some of that's going to grow, some of it isn't, but it's well worth the time invested of 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes since I'm recording it. So along the same lines as what we just did with that Katuk, we've got this Chaya here. Chaya is a very good food forest plant. It's highly nutritious, very dense in vitamins and minerals. It has a good amount of complete dietary protein. That's for you people that leave comments that all plants have protein. Yeah, all plants have protein, but they don't have complete dietary protein. This is one of the plants that does. So this guy got knocked down by Ian. It's already growing back over there, and I haven't propped it back up yet. So I'm just going to make some propagation material really quick and easy. Boom. And so the same way that I propagated that Katuk, I'm going to do the same thing. Just every 4 or 5 feet. With this one, I'm going to stick it in the ground. You don't need to see that. You got the idea. Okay, this is where I just Guerilla planted the Chaya and the Katuk. Give you a little quick tour of that because there are some plants growing from the seed bombing that I did a few months ago. But Chaya, it's like a brassica of some kind or maybe a radish. Lots more little radishes or brassicas. Chaya, once again, the cool weather brassica or radish all over in here. I also threw down a lot of seeds that won't germinate until it gets warm. A lot of hibiscus and things like that, and even some more Katuk seeds. A couple Katuk plants, Katuk, Chaya, Katuk, Chaya, Katuk. I think that's about as far as I went. So once again, this isn't going to be 100%. I just did it dirty and fast. That's good enough because this isn't actually part of my food forest, at least not yet. This is an area that's traditionally just way overgrown. It borders the canal on my property. So this is just an opportunity to take back a little bit of land that was just weeds and jungle. Here's a pigeon pea plant that has quite a few dried seed pods. I'm going to go ahead and harvest these. I got most of the seed pods off of this pigeon pea, so I'm going to go ahead and chop and drop. It's not protecting anything here, so there's no reason to let it go. I'm not going to harvest this anymore. These remaining pods will be used to reseed this section. I want to get rid of this Mexican sunflower right here too because I want my Monstera to get as much sun as possible. All right, you've seen how I do things. Might be a little more brutal, a little less formal than how you want to do it, but that doesn't matter. You do it the way you want to do it. I do it the way I want to do it, and we're both right. The most important thing is that you're doing something. Get out there and grow your own food forest, grow your own edible landscaping. It's not hard. You can get started easily. If I can do it, you can do it. Out.